We have to be knowledgeable about God and his ways to access his power. He always is faithful, but we have to approach him his way. We can't say, do it my way, God. I want it now, I want it here, I want it this way. We have to say, what do you want from me? And that is what I will do. So having the right kind of faith, we're going to talk about what that faith looks like and how to have that kind of faith. And the things that we're talking about first thing this morning are going to be woven throughout these 2 days. So you're going to hear it from different perspectives, different examples, different scriptures to try and build a picture for you so you aren't getting just a single dimensional image of something that's so important. So hopefully you're going to have some aha moments during these 2 days that are going to make a real difference for you. I know that's how it worked for me when I had cancer. So you'll have the opportunity to learn a lot about healing and the spiritual side and the natural side. Practical and spiritual. But there are a couple of scriptures I want to start with that introduce kind of this process. Hosea 4:6 says, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge." And that is a real problem. We have a lack of knowledge. We are destroyed because of that, because we don't seek knowledge and learn it and internalize it. We have to do more than just with our mind say, oh yeah, I know that. We have to know it in our spirit, in our heart, so we internalize the truth. There are a lot of scriptures about the subject, about knowledge and having wisdom. Another one is found in Proverbs 1:7, and it tells us, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction." Now, we don't want to be a fool, because if we are despising having to learn about God and his ways, if we don't really want to do that, the Bible says we're a fool, because he's the source of life. You want life, you want health, he's the source. We need to learn of him. We need to seek wisdom about who he is and what he can provide and wants to provide. He's not back here stingily holding it saying, well, I'm going to just I'll give it to you today. Oh, just a little bit. He has an abundant supply. Jesus says, I came that they might have life and life abundantly. And in Psalms it says, forget not any of his benefits. He doesn't want us to forget it. Don't leave anything on the table. He has all these gifts for us. He wants us to enjoy them. That's why he paid for them. It cost him dearly to pay for them. So he's saying they're here for your enjoyment, for your benefit, for your abundant life. The word fear in this verse where I was just reading that says the fear of the Lord, it's not talking about being afraid. It's talking about reverence. It's talking about the actual meaning of that word there is we revere God. The fear of the Lord, the reverence of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. If we don't look to God as something special, someone to be revered, to be awed, to be humbled by, then we don't have a right image of God. He's not a Santa Claus that hands out gifts on Christmas. He is the God who created everything that exists. The universe, the stars, the planets, the solar systems, the earth we live on, our bodies, everything. If we can't be reverent about that being who has that kind of power and ability and yet loves us, doesn't misuse it, but wants good for us, then we're missing out. We are to be in reverence of him. So the bottom line is, who's your source? Is it the doctor? Is it the pills in the cabinet? Got to keep those in my purse? What is your source? Is it God? Is it his word? Where is your source? You can only have one real source. What's on the throne? The source, if you had to take all the sources that are available to you and say, here's a throne, and I'm only allowed to put one source on that throne to have the final say, to be the undergirding power and voice to everything else I do. Who is that? What is that? Because you have to answer that question. That's where you start. Who or what is your source? What are you depending on? What are you trusting in? As a Christian, you can't swap God out for a doctor. Even when you feel like it, even when you're afraid, you can't swap him out. You can't say, well, yeah, God, I trust God. God's my source. I love God. I worship God. I believe in God. I trust him. But, right now I need to go to this doctor. I need to go see what he has to say. And so even though God has told us things, we don't spend the time to read those things and understand and submit to those things. We put that aside, and now we go run to the doctor and put the doctor on the throne. And, God won't share his glory, he says. He won't. He won't. Who's on the throne of our heart? He won't share. He's not going to give us the things we're asking for if we aren't truly trusting him to do that. So it's critical that we say, who's on the throne? Who's my source? And everything has to start there. Start and end. We have to put ourselves under authority and never replace his authority in our lives. And if we want his wisdom, his benefits, the things that only he can provide, then we have to do what's required to get those things. Dale and I will each be sharing a bit about our personal journeys to healing. And I'd like to introduce Dale again and have him come back up to tell a part of his story. But let me just say, as a prelude, and most everyone that's participating in this workshop knows his story. He was the only survivor of an airplane crash at age 19. The other two pilots died, and their airplane crashed to a 100-story monument, a mausoleum in the middle of a cemetery of concrete and marble. Crashed right at the top, 5 feet from the top, about 100 feet high, and just destroyed the airplane into thousands of pieces. And it fell, and here's the tail section, here's the cockpit, here's the wings, and all three pilots, when they hit right here, they all went over and free fell to the ground and all landed within about 5 feet of each other here. It was a non-survivable airplane crash. The National Transportation Safety Board declared that when they finished their findings that it was non-survivable. To go through that kind of an impact and survive was miraculous. It shows you some illustration of the size a little bit with these men and the firemen and the fire truck. That's just the tail section. They were carrying cargo, so all that rained down on the scene. When Dale was taken to the emergency room, before he was taken to the emergency room, he was still here at the crash site. It was the first time he had an aha moment about who he was. He was hovering over the scene, in the air, looking down, seeing the airplane, the debris, the three bodies on the ground, and he was looking at this, not fearful, not upset, interested. What's going on? What is this? There's three men on the ground. They're dead. There's an airplane that's crashed. What am I doing up here? He never felt more alive, he said, at that moment. Never felt more alive. That's when he realized, I'm a spirit. I thought that was me down there, the body, but it's not me. Our body isn't who we are. We are spirits. We have a soul, our mind, will, and emotions. That's how we process, we think. We have intellect to use. We make choices. And we live in a body. Our spirit and soul are eternal. Our body isn't. So our spirit and soul are housed in this frame of a body while we live on the earth. It's made in the natural elements of this earth so that it can hold our spirit and soul, which are spiritual and eternal, and it's our interface with the world that we live in. So we have to take care of it. We only get one. So we are a spirit, we have a soul, we live in a body. We have to recognize that we are a three-part person. And let me tell you a little bit about Dale's injuries. Here he was having a revelation of who he was for the first time. They were able to resuscitate him and rushed him to the hospital. He was told when he woke up 3 days later after being in a coma that he would never walk again. His legs were broken in multiple places. His back was broken in 3 places. His left shoulder was completely destroyed. The ball and socket joint had exploded, sending bone up his neck and back and chest. His left ankle was completely destroyed. He remembers at night for years, I remember him doing it, waking up going like this, trying to get his balance as his body's going through the air. And he landed, trying to land on his feet. Now he did, mostly his left leg, which destroyed it. His ankle just destroyed it. He had cuts and lacerations all over his body. A serious cut down through his forehead and over across and down through his right eye, almost cut it in half. The doctor says, you'll never walk again. You'll never use your left arm again. You'll never see out of your right eye again. This is a doctor, a professional, a trained professional. He was Evel Knievel's doctor, so he was experienced. And he's an authority figure, isn't he? And he was stating these as facts. Of course you'll never fly again. Give it up, Dale. You know, this is your lot now. This is what you have. And those were facts. Facts. The doctor said, that's a fact. He's just repeating what he's discovering about your body. Facts. Big different from what God said. God doesn't say facts. God says truth. He speaks truth. There's truth, there's facts. Dale chose to believe truth over the facts. Gave God authority to reign and rule. Let him lead. And he was able to bring the superior truth to manifestation over the facts. So I've asked Dale, please share about your ankle. That illustration of your ankle is so, the principle at the end of that is so powerful because we're talking about healing, and that's like one of the foundational laws of healing. And so I'm going to ask him to come back and share a little bit about the ankle portion of his healing that he went through after the airplane crash. Are you or a loved one dealing with cancer? There are a lot of confusing voices out there. And I understand that because I was given 3 to 6 months to live after being diagnosed with terminal cancer. But God faithfully showed me that I needed to deal with my whole person, body, soul, and spirit, in order to get well. He led me to the truths I needed to reverse cancer without chemo, radiation, or drugs. And that was 22 years ago. How do you know what's right for you? Cut through the noise and discover the answers you need. My husband Dale and I are offering a place where your questions will get answered and you can exchange confusion for understanding. Attend a 2-day Healing Way workshop, either in person or via live streaming from your own home. The information you'll receive can change everything. You'll learn things like how to have effective faith for healing, how to heal your body by bringing it into agreement with God's design, which spiritual principles open the floodgates for healing, why do so many people not receive healing, and how you can be someone who does. And there's so much more. To learn more, visit winningovercancer.org and click on workshops. Don't miss this powerful, life-changing healing opportunity, and I'll see you there.